Welcome everyone to Whimsy Woven Stories. Here, we explore gripping tales of real-life twists. Join our storytelling community.
I've never been the kind of guy who expects the world to stop just for me. Life's been decent, a steady job, a modest house, and a family that gets by. But turning 40 felt different. For weeks, Belle had been dropping hints, playful, almost teasing, saying things like, "Just wait, Julian. Something big is coming." I'd catch her smiling at me over breakfast, her brown eyes sparkling like she was hiding a secret she couldn't wait to share. Skyler, my 19-year-old daughter, started asking odd questions at dinner like, "Dad, what's your favorite cake flavor?" And Maddox, my 21-year-old son, even checked in on my work schedule, asking what days I'd be off. I'm a construction supervisor, so my hours are long, but I started to wonder, maybe they were planning something. A surprise party? Maybe a nice dinner? I didn't need anything big, just a little sign that they cared. I let myself hope, just a flicker at first, but it grew as my birthday got closer. After work, I'd come home tired and covered in dust, imagining balloons, a birthday banner in the living room. So on the big day, March 29th, 2025, I pulled my truck into the driveway, my heart beating a little faster than usual. The sun was low in the sky, painting everything in a warm orange glow. I sat there for a second, gripping the steering wheel, telling myself not to get my hopes up. Then I grabbed my lunchbox and stepped out. The gravel crunched under my boots as I walked to the front door. I unlocked it, pushed it open, and nothing. The house was dark, silent, empty. No smell of food, no voices, no footsteps running to meet me. The living room looked exactly the same. No decorations, no candles, no sign of a celebration. I flipped the light switch, half expecting someone to jump out yelling surprise. But the light just buzzed on, revealing the same old couch. The TV was off. The kitchen counter was spotless. No cake, no plates, no party mess. I dropped my lunchbox on the table. The thud echoed through the silence. I stood there, staring at the empty space where my family should have been. My phone was silent in my pocket. No texts, no missed calls, no "hey, we're running late." I walked through the house. My boots left faint dirt marks on the hardwood. Upstairs, the beds were made. Skyler's room still smelled like her lavender spray, but her backpack was gone. Maddox's sneakers weren't by the door. Belle's purse, the one she always leaves on the hallway table, wasn't there. I checked the garage. Her car was gone. My stomach dropped, heavy and sick like I'd swallowed a brick. I told myself, maybe they're out picking something up last minute. Maybe they'll pull in any second. I pictured headlights flashing in the driveway, doors opening, all of them laughing and apologizing. So I sat on the couch, still in my dusty work jacket, and waited. 5 minutes turned into 10. 10 into 30. The clock on the wall ticked louder with every second, cutting deeper into that stupid little hope I'd let grow. I leaned back, rubbed my face, and felt the weight of 40 years pressed down on me. Not the milestone I imagined, but something colder. I went to the fridge, grabbed a beer, popped it open, and took a long drink. The bitterness matched the ache creeping through my chest. They weren't coming. I knew it then, even if I didn't want to admit it. I'd spent weeks building this up in my head, imagining their faces, their voices, some kind of celebration to mark the big 4-0. But the house stayed quiet, and that silence told me everything. I wasn't worth the effort. Not to them. I set the beer down, my hands just slightly shaking, and stared at the blank TV screen. My reflection stared back at me, tired eyes, gray creeping into my beard, a guy who thought he mattered. 40 years old, and this was it, an empty house, a warm beer, and a family that didn't even bother to leave a note. I wasn't sure what hurt more, the fact they forgot, or the fact I let myself believe they wouldn't. Either way, I wasn't moving from that couch. Not yet. I was still holding on to that sliver of hope, just in case. But that spark, it was gone. Snuffed out by the dark, quiet truth of my birthday night. 3 hours passed. I was still sitting there, beer now lukewarm in my hand, the house dead quiet, like a ghost town. I'd just been staring at the wall, trying to figure out what I did wrong. Why no one even called? My phone sat on the coffee table, screen black and blank, mocking me with its silence. I must have checked it a dozen times. Nothing. No missed calls, no texts. Just that same lock screen photo, me and Belle, smiling at some backyard barbecue last summer like everything was fine. I didn't want to feel sorry for myself. But damn, it was hard not to. 40 years old, and this was my big day. I picked up my phone again, more out of habit than hope, and opened Instagram. I don't usually scroll, too many ads, too many fake smiles, but something told me to check. And there it was, like a punch to the gut. A photo of Belle, Skyler, Maddox, and her parents, Greg and Michelle, all grinning on some beach. White sand, waves crashing, sunset golden behind them like something out of a travel ad. Belle had a cocktail in her hand, sunglasses pushed up, laughing like she didn't have a single care in the world. Skyler was splashing in the surf, hair wild and wet. Maddox stood shirtless with a beer in his hand, smirking at the camera. Greg and Michelle were lounging in chairs, looking as smug as ever. Then I saw Maddox's caption. He won't even notice we're gone all. I read it again and again, just to make sure I wasn't seeing things. My own son wrote that. My family, my whole damn family, was off at some fancy resort, living it up while I sat here alone in the dark, and they thought it was funny. I scrolled more. Skyler had a story, her sipping a drink with a little umbrella, tagged at Paradise Cove Resort. Belle posted a selfie with Michelle. Caption, "Family time is the best time. Family time without me." I dropped the phone on the couch like it burned me. Stood up, legs shaky, chest tight like something heavy was crushing it. My hands clenched into fists as I walked to the kitchen, grabbed a bottle of whiskey from the cabinet, the good stuff Belle gave me for Christmas, and poured a glass. No ice, no mixer, just straight. I took a big gulp, the burn sliding down my throat, and leaned against the counter, staring at the floor. They didn't forget me. That's what really hit me. This wasn't some mix-up or last-minute slip. They planned this. They packed bags, booked flights, and left me behind. And they laughed about it. Like I was some joke. I pictured them at the airport, probably saying stuff like, "Julian's fine, he's always working anyway." I took another sip, slower this time, letting it sit on my tongue. The house felt huge, too quiet. The silence pressed in from every corner. I walked back to the couch, whiskey in hand, and picked up the phone again. Zoomed in on the photo. Maddox's smug grin, Skyler's carefree wave, Belle's effortless laugh. They looked happy, happier than they ever seemed here with me. I set the glass down and rubbed my eyes, feeling the sting of something I wouldn't quite call tears. Not yet. I wanted to text them, call and scream, "What the hell is this? It's my birthday." But I didn't. What would I even say? Come home? Explain? They'd just laugh again. Or worse, feel sorry for me. And I didn't want their pity. I didn't want their excuses. I scrolled back to Maddox's caption. "He won't even notice we're gone all." It played in my head over and over like a song I couldn't stand. He was wrong, though. I noticed. I noticed every second of it. The whiskey bottle was already half empty. I poured another glass. My hand was steadier this time. I wasn't mad, not the yelling, throwing things kind of mad. It was quieter than that, deeper, like a fire starting low in my gut. They thought I wouldn't care. Thought I'd just shrug it off and go to bed like nothing happened. But I'm not that guy anymore. I took a sip, leaned back, and let the silence settle around me. They were wrong about me, and I was going to make sure they knew it. Not tonight, though. Tonight, I was going to sit right here, drink my whiskey, and let that fire inside me grow. Tomorrow? That'd be a whole different story. By the time I realized that sitting here feeling sorry for myself wasn't cutting it, the whiskey bottle was nearly empty. It was past midnight, my birthday was officially over, and the house still echoed like a hollow shell. I wasn't drunk, just buzzed enough for the anger to feel sharp around the edges. Maddox's caption kept playing in my head like some taunt I couldn't shake. He won't even notice we're gone all. They thought I was clueless. Just some tired old workhorse too busy or too dumb to notice what they were really doing. But I saw it now. All of it. Clear as day. And I wasn't about to let it slide. I grabbed my laptop from the coffee table, flipped it open, and started digging. First stop? Instagram. I saved every post and story they put up, Belle selfies, Skyler's beach clips, Maddox's smug little updates. I took screenshots, marked the timestamps. They'd been gone at least 2 days, maybe longer, judging by the check-in photos at that resort. Then I logged into our joint bank account. I'm the one who usually handles the bills, so I knew exactly where to look. And there it was. The $3,800 cash withdrawal from 3 days ago. No card swipe, just straight up cash. Discreet. Like they didn't want a paper trail. My stomach dropped. I'd given Maddox that exact amount last month for a deposit on his new apartment. He'd hugged me and said, "Thanks, Dad. You're the best." I felt proud. Now I knew what that money really paid for. I kept scrolling through the records, my fingers moving faster as the pieces fell into place. Little charges here and there, gas, coffee near the airport, but nothing big enough to explain a luxury resort. That's when I remembered Belle's emergency credit card. The one for unexpected stuff, car repairs and the like. She kept the statements in a drawer upstairs, under a stack of old tax files like I'd never noticed. The whiskey humming in my veins, I headed up the stairs. The drawer creaked open, and there they were, a stack of envelopes from a credit card I didn't even have access to. I tore one open. It was from last month, and the numbers hit like a slap in the face. $1,200 at a spa, $800 at some boutique, $450 for lunch with Michelle at some place I'd never heard of. Month after month, the same story. Thousands spent on things she never even mentioned. I opened the most recent one, still sealed. $1,500 at Paradise Cove Resort, plus a few hundred in extras. The total balance, $92,000. 92 grand. I dropped the statements on the bed, my hand shaking, not from the booze, but from the weight of it all. This wasn't just a birthday snub. It was a double life. I went back downstairs, grabbed a notebook, and started writing everything down. Dates, amounts, transactions, every detail. The reliable Julian Hartley. The guy who clocked in early, paid the mortgage, fixed the leaks, turned into a walking ATM. A ghost they could step over while they sipped cocktails and laughed. I poured the last of the whiskey, stare at my shaky handwriting, the numbers glaring up at me. I didn't cry. That's not who I am. But my throat felt tight, like I couldn't quite breathe. I thought about all the years I poured into this life. The overtime so Skyler could go to college. The weekends I gave up. The late nights. All for this. So they could run off and laugh behind my back. I closed the notebook and leaned back. The couch groaned under me. The anger wasn't loud anymore. It was cold, steady, like a river carving its way through stone. I wasn't going to yell. Wasn't going to break things. That's not my style. But I was done being invisible. I've been the guy who kept his head down, let things slide, trusted too easily. Not anymore. I took one last sip of whiskey, let it burn down my throat, and made a promise to myself, right there in the dark. They'd remember me. Not the old Julian. Not the pushover. But the one they left behind. The one who saw everything. And I was going to make sure they couldn't hide from what they'd done. Not from me. Not ever again. 2 days after my birthday, I woke up to the same empty house. Same silence. Same weight pressing down on my chest. The whiskey bottle was still sitting on the counter, like a monument to that first night. But I didn't touch it again. I kept myself busy, chores, errands, anything to keep from drowning in the hole they left behind. I didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't need to. I'd seen everything on Instagram. They were still at the resort, probably sipping cocktails by the pool while I picked at cold leftovers. My phone stayed quiet too. No apologies. No check-ins. Like I didn't exist. Until the second day. I was flipping through TV channels I didn't care about when my phone started buzzing. WhatsApp lit up with message after message, one after another, like they all suddenly remembered I was alive. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering. The first was from Belle. "Julian, where are you?" Like I was the one who disappeared. Then Skyler. "Dad, are you okay? Please answer." Then Maddox. "Yo, Dad, what's up? You? Good." 49 messages total. Voice notes too. Skyler's voice was soft, shaky. "Dad, I'm worried. Just let us know you're okay." Later, Belle sent a longer one. "Julian, please don't shut me out. We're flying back early. Talk to me." I just sat there, staring at the screen, the words blurring together. Part of me wanted to feel something. Relief, maybe. Even anger. But I didn't. It was too late for that. They had days. Days to call. To text. And they chose silence. Now they were scared? Good. They should be. I'd officially lost it. I set the phone down and leaned back, resting my hands on my knees. The house creaked around me, the fridge humming from the kitchen. I could have answered. Could have typed back, "I'm here. Where the hell were you?" But I didn't. They didn't deserve that. Not yet. Instead, an idea hit me. I grabbed my phone again, opened up Instagram, and scrolled through my camera roll. There wasn't much, just a few work shots, a pic of my truck, and then one from yesterday. I stopped at the grocery store after work and picked up a cheap chocolate cake from the bakery section. It was small, kind of pathetic, with "Happy Birthday" scribbled in sloppy icing. I'd taken a picture of myself holding it in the kitchen. No smile, just me and that cake under the harsh fluorescent light. I hadn't planned on posting it. Didn't even eat the damn thing. But now, it felt right. I uploaded it. No filter, no caption, no text. Just the timestamp, March 28, 2025, 7:42 p.m. I hit post and watched it go live. It wasn't about being petty. It wasn't some dramatic screw you. It was a marker. A quiet little flag in the dirt saying, "I'm still here. I see everything. And I'm not the one who disappeared." I tossed my phone onto the cushion next to me and stood up, stretching my arms over my head. My back cracked. Too many hours sunk into the couch. I walked to the window and looked out at the quiet street. The neighbors' windows glowed with warm yellow light, families inside doing normal family things. My house felt empty, like a hollow shell. But I wasn't sad. Not anymore. Those 49 unread messages still buzzed in the back of my mind. They weren't real apologies. They were panic, maybe guilt, but not remorse. The line that stuck with me most was from Belle. "Don't shut me out." She didn't get it. I wasn't shutting her out. She locked me out days ago. And now she wanted to come waltzing back in like nothing happened. I shook my head and let out a dry, humorless laugh. Skyler's voice note echoed in my head too. Her worry tugged at me a little. She's my daughter, always has been. But even she went along with this. Maddox? He'd probably just shrug and say, "It wasn't a big deal." I walked into the kitchen, grabbed a glass of water, and leaned against the counter. I took a slow sip. My phone buzzed again, probably message number 50. I didn't check it. They'd see the Instagram post soon enough. They know I wasn't sulking. I wasn't hiding. I was here watching, waiting. The birthday cake still sat on the counter, untouched. The icing was starting to crack. I didn't need the cake. I didn't need their last-minute, guilt-ridden words either. What I needed, they couldn't give me yet. I needed answers, and I was going to get them. One way or another. For now, I'd let them swarm, let them wonder. Because I wasn't the guy they thought they could just leave behind anymore. 3 days after my birthday, I was in the living room, the TV playing some dumb game show in the background. I hadn't answered a single one of those messages. I hadn't called back. I barely even looked at my phone since posting that cake picture. It was late afternoon. The sun slanted through the blinds, casting striped shadows across the carpet. I'd just gotten home from work, still wearing my dusty jacket, when the doorbell rang. It wasn't a light knock, it was loud, insistent, like someone who didn't want to be ignored. I got up slowly, my boots heavy on the floor as I made my way to the door. I didn't know what I was expecting, but something in my gut told me it was them. I opened the door, and there they were. Belle, Skyler, Maddox, and behind them, her parents, Greg and Michelle, all standing on my front porch like some awkward, uncomfortable family portrait. Belle was in front, holding a shiny gift bag. Her smile was tight, fake, the one she wears when she's nervous. Skyler and Maddox were hanging back. Skyler picked at her nails. Maddox stared at the ground. Greg stood there like he owned the place, arms crossed. Michelle had that look, lips pursed, arms stiff at her sides. I didn't say a word, just leaned against the doorframe and looked at them, letting the silence drag out. Belle shifted, the gift bag crinkling in her hand. "Julian," she said, her voice overly bright. "We're back. I wanted to see you." I didn't move, didn't nod, just kept my eyes on her. She faltered, then held up the bag like it meant something. "I got you something for your birthday?" I glanced at it, probably some overpriced shirt or watch she thought would smooth things over. I didn't take it. Instead, I pulled out my phone, opened Instagram, and brought up Maddox's post. He won't even notice we're gone all. I turned the screen so they could all see it. My thumb hovered over the edge. The energy changed immediately, like the oxygen had been sucked right out of the air. Belle's smile vanished. Skyler's head jerked up, eyes wide. Maddox shifted uncomfortably, mumbling under his breath. Greg cleared his throat, but I cut him off before he could speak. I locked eyes with him, his smug face turning red under the porch light. "You're not welcome here." My voice was low, calm, but it cut through the silence like a knife. Greg blinked, his mouth opening, then closing. Michelle stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Julian, that's uncalled for." I said what I said. I interrupted. "You don't get to walk in here like nothing happened." "Not after this." I held up the phone again, then stepped aside, just a little. "You three can come in," I said to Belle, Skyler, and Maddox. "They can't." Belle hesitated, glancing back at her parents. I didn't move. Greg huffed, turning to Michelle like he expected backup. But she just stared at me with her hands on her hips. After a long pause, Belle nodded at Skyler and Maddox. They shuffled inside past me. I shut the door behind them, leaving Greg and Michelle standing in silence, their shadows stretching across the porch. Inside, the living room suddenly felt smaller. Skyler sat on the edge of the couch, her knees bouncing. Maddox leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes avoiding mine. Belle stood in the center, still holding that damn gift bag like it meant something. I walked past her, set my phone on the coffee table, and faced them. So I said, hands in my pockets, "How was the beach?" Belle flinched. Skyler looked like she might cry. Maddox shrugged. "It was fine," he mumbled. "Fine," I repeated. "Good to know." I didn't yell. I didn't need to. The weight was already in the room. Belle stepped forward. "Julian, we didn't mean for it to happen like this. It was supposed to be." I held up a hand. "Don't. Not yet." I looked at Skyler, her big watery eyes, then at Maddox. "You're here now. That counts for something." "But them." I nodded toward the door. "They don't get a pass. And neither do you." "Not yet." I sat down in my chair by the window and grabbed the remote. I turned off the TV. The room fell quiet, just the hum of the fridge and their shallow breathing. They wanted to talk, to explain, but I wasn't ready to hear it. Not until I knew they felt this. Really felt it. I wasn't just letting them back in. This house wasn't their safe zone anymore. It was mine, and I wasn't the guy they could just ditch without consequences. The air in the kitchen felt thick as we stood there. Belle, Skyler, Maddox, and me gathered around the table like some warped family meeting. I grabbed a folder from the counter, heavy with bank statements, screenshots, credit card records. I've been building it quietly, and now it was time. I dropped it on the table. The thud made Skyler jump. Belle sat down slowly, still holding the gift bag. Maddox stayed standing, arms crossed tight across his chest. I stayed on my feet. "When," I asked, voice low but steady, "did I become invisible to you?" Belle's head snapped up, ready to answer, but nothing came out. Skyler stared at the table. Maddox clenched his jaw and shifted his weight. I opened the folder and spread out the papers. $3,800 taken from our savings, $92,000 charged to a secret credit card. Resort fees from my birthday weekend. I tapped on Maddox's post. You think this is funny? You think ditching me while you sip drinks is a joke? Belle finally leaned forward, hands clasped tight. Julian, it wasn't like that. We were going to surprise you. It just got out of hand. Her words felt practiced, scripted, like she'd rehearsed them on the plane. I flipped to another screenshot, Belle texting Michelle weeks ago. He'll be fine, Mom. Let's just go. I held it up. This doesn't look like a surprise. This looks like you plan to leave me behind. Maddox spoke up then, his voice rough. Dad, it was just a dumb post. I didn't mean it like that. I turned to him. You wrote it, Maddox. You laughed about it. You used my money I gave you for your apartment, to pay for this. He looked away. Didn't argue. Skyler started crying, soft, broken sobs. She's always been the sensitive one. Dad, she said, her voice cracking. It was supposed to be for you too. We were all going to go. Meet you, Mom, Maddox. But then Grandpa said. She stopped, wiping her eyes. I leaned forward, my hands on the table. What's Skyler? She swallowed hard, glancing at Belle. He said you'd ruin the vibe, that you're always so serious. And it'd be more fun without you. The words hit me like a hammer. I turned to Belle. Is that true? She didn't answer right away, just stared at the table. Then, finally, Julian, it wasn't my idea. My dad kept pushing. I didn't know how to say no. I let out a bitter laugh. You didn't know how to say no to him, but you knew how to say no to me. Goes, to this family. I shook my head, my voice cold. You knew how to take our money. You knew how to leave me out. And you knew how to lie. I snapped the folder shut, the sound sharp in the quiet room. I busted my ass for this family, for you, for the kids. And this is what I get? You let Greg decide I'm not worth it. Skyler reached for my hand. Her fingers were ice cold. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't want it to end up like this. I looked at her. She meant it. I could see that in her eyes. But it didn't take away the pain. Maddox mumbled something that might have been an apology, but he still wouldn't look at me. Belle stepped forward, trying to get closer. Julian, we can fix this. Please. I stepped back, out of her reach. Fix it. You don't fix something you broke on purpose. I held up the folder. This is what you did. You don't get to walk in here with a gift bag and tears and expect it all to disappear. The room went still. Just Skyler sniffling and the faint hum of the fridge. I looked at them, my wife, my kids, and the betrayal hit harder than I ever thought it would. They chose Greg, chose his idea of fun over me, and I wasn't sure I could forgive that. Not yet. After that showdown in the kitchen, I barely slept. The house felt different now, like it didn't belong to all of us anymore, just to me. Belle, Skyler, and Maddox had scattered. Skyler was still crying. Maddox slunk off to his old bedroom. Belle lingered like she wanted to say something more, but didn't. I'd laid everything out, the money, the lies, how they made me feel, and I wasn't backing down. The next morning, I got up early. The sun wasn't even up yet. I sat at the kitchen table, coffee in hand, laptop open. I pulled up our bank accounts. My hands moved fast, clicking through screens. I opened a new account in just my name. Then I transferred half our savings into it, enough to cover 3 months of the mortgage and utilities. The rest, Belle could figure that out. She'd have to pull her weight now. I canceled the joint credit card, the one she thought I didn't know about, and set up a direct payment for Skyler's college tuition. Straight to the school. No middleman. No more chances for that money to vanish. By the time my coffee had gone cold, I'd drawn a line in the sand. I wasn't kicking them out, not yet, but things were going to be different. Belle came downstairs around 8 o'clock. Hair a mess, eyes puffy, like she hadn't slept either. She stopped in the doorway, watching me pack up my laptop. Julian, what are you doing? She asked, her voice shaky. I didn't look up, just kept stacking papers. Making sure I'm not invisible anymore, I said. You're in the guest room from now on. Separate accounts. You're paying half the bills. Skyler's tuition is covered, but that's it. No more free rides. Her face crumpled, but I didn't stop. Oh, and I changed the locks. You'll get a key when I know you're serious about this. She stared at me, mouth open, then sank into a chair. Julian, this is crazy. We can talk about this. I cut her off, standing up. We talked last night. You didn't listen. Now you will. I grabbed my keys and headed to the garage. At the hardware store, I bought new deadbolts. Heavy ones. I spent the morning installing them. The drill buzzed in my hands, drowning out the storm in my head. Maddox came downstairs while I was finishing the back door. Hair wild, still in yesterday's clothes. Dad, what's with the locks? He asked, rubbing his eyes. I tightened the last screw, stood up, brushed sawdust from my jeans. It's my house too, I said. You want in? No. You want to stay? Start acting like it. He frowned but didn't argue. Just shuffled back upstairs. Skyler was different. She came out later, eyes red but dry, and sat on the porch steps while I tested the new key. "Dad," she said, voice small, "I don't want you to hate me." I paused, looked at her. My little girl, all grown up, caught in this mess. "I don't hate you," I said, softer than I meant to. "But I can't trust you." "Not yet. You gotta show me you mean it." She nodded, hugging her knees. That old ache for her hit me again, the one that never really goes away. I finished up and went inside. Next up, resetting the Wi-Fi password. Something simple. Julian 40. They wouldn't guess it. Belle tried to talk again when I came back in. She followed me into the living room. "This isn't you, Julian. Locking us out, splitting everything. It's not fair." I turned to her, hands in my pockets. "Fair? You took our money. You left me here. You let your dad say I was dead weight. That's not fair. This is me surviving." She flinched, but I didn't stop. "You want to fix it? Earn it. Respect's gone. You've got to bring it back." She didn't say anything. Just stood there, eyes filling with tears. Maddox stormed out then, grabbing his jacket. "This is Dad now," he snapped. "I'm out." He slammed the door behind him. The new lock clicked shut. I didn't chase him. He'd figure it out or he wouldn't. Skyler stayed, though. She hung around the rest of the day, helping with small stuff, bringing me a screwdriver, making coffee. She didn't say much, but she was there, and that meant something. By nightfall, the house felt solid again, locked up tight. Mine, in a way it hadn't been before. Belle moved her stuff into the guest room without a word, her footsteps heavy on the stairs. I sat on the couch, new key in hand, and looked around. This wasn't revenge. This was a boundary, a wall carved in stone. If they wanted back in, they'd have to climb it. And I'd be watching, waiting to see if they could. I could finally breathe. I was out in the garage, messing around with the oil filter on my truck, when I heard a car pull up in the driveway. I wiped my hands on a rag and stepped out, squinting against the sunlight. Greg's silver SUV was idling there. He jumped out, face flushed and tight, like he'd been stewing all week. Michelle stayed in the passenger seat, arms crossed, shooting daggers at me through the windshield. I leaned against the garage door, rag in hand, and waited. He marched up, stopping just a few feet from me. His voice was loud enough to wake the whole neighborhood. "Julian, what the hell do you think you're doing?" he barked. "Locking my daughter out? Cutting her off? You're tearing this family apart." I didn't flinch. I just looked him in the eye, letting him puff his chest. He was taller, broader, but I wasn't scared. Not anymore. "Tearing it apart?" I said, my tone steady. "Funny. I thought that started when you took them all on a resort vacation and left me behind." He waved a hand like he was swatting away a fly. "It was a trip. Break. You're overreacting, acting like some guy in the middle of a breakdown." I stepped forward, closing the distance enough to make him lean back. "A break?" I echoed. "How much did that little break cost, Greg?" He blinked, caught off guard. Then he shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe $7,500. What's your point?" I nodded, letting the number hang there. Then I said, "I put $25,000 into Skyler's education last year. Covered her tuition, books, dorm. You done anything for her future lately?" His mouth opened, then shut. His face turned redder. I didn't stop. "You don't get to stand here and lecture me about family. You're the one who decided I wasn't worth the invite. You helped convince Belle I'd just be in the way. And now you're mad because I'm not just taking it." Michelle stepped out of the car then, heels clicking on the driveway. "Julian, you're being ridiculous," she snapped. "Belle's a wreck because of you. She says you're cold. Unreasonable." I cut her off, sharper now. "She's a wreck because she got caught. Don't try to spin this on me." Greg stepped in again, pointing a finger at me. "Watch how you talk to us. We're her parents, and I'm her husband." I snapped back. Or at least I was, until you helped her forget that. They both just stood there, fuming. I didn't back down. I'd had enough of their self-righteous crap. "Go home," I said, turning back toward the garage. "This isn't your fight." Greg huffed something about me being ungrateful and stomped off. Michelle followed him, tossing one last glare over her shoulder. They peeled out of the driveway, tires screeching. I stood there, the rag still clenched in my fist. Later that day, I checked Facebook, should have known better, and saw Belle's latest post. Sometimes people change, and not for the better. Midlife hits hard. Dozen likes. A few sad emojis. Her friends chiming in with "Stay strong, girl." I stare at the post, her words twisting something deep in my gut. She was painting me like I'd lost it, like I'd snapped for no reason. I could have clapped back, dumped screenshots, bank statements, the whole truth. But I didn't. Let her have her version of the story. The people who mattered knew the truth. Pete, the buddy from work, called that night. "You good?" he asked. Saw that post. "She's full of it. We all know you, man. You don't blow up over nothing." I thanked him, hung up, and sat on the couch. The house was quiet again. Skyler came down a little while later, curled up next to me with a mug of tea. "Dad," she said, "I don't care what Mom says, you're not the one in the wrong." I put an arm around her, felt her lean into me, and nodded. "Thanks, kid. I didn't need everyone to know the truth. I had the folder. I had the facts. I had the loyalty of the ones who stuck around." Greg could yell. Belle could post. But I knew the truth, and for now that was enough. I leaned against the truck, sun beating down on the back of my neck. "Yeah," I said. "What's going on?" He paused. "I'm in a bind. Rent's due, and I'm short. Can you help me out?" I didn't answer right away. Just stood there, listening to the background noise of the construction site, drills whining, guys shouting across the lot. Part of me wanted to say no. Let him sweat a little. Let him feel the weight of that loyalty he tossed aside so easy. But he was still my son. "Come by tonight," I said. "We'll figure something out." He showed up around 7. Hoodie wrinkled, hair a mess, dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in days. I let him in, the new lock clicking behind us, and we sat at the kitchen table. "How much are you short?" I asked, pouring him a glass of water. $600, he said, staring at the glass but not drinking it. I thought I had it, but work cut my hours. I nodded and opened my laptop. "All right," I said, "but I'm not just handing over cash. Show me everything, your bills, pay stubs, whatever you've got." He looked surprised but reached into his backpack and pulled out a mess of crumpled papers. We went through it together for the next hour, rent, phone bill, what little savings he had. I showed him how I'd always handled the house budget. Tracked every dollar. Made it stretch. "See this?" I said, pointing at the spreadsheet. "You plan ahead, you don't get stuck." He nodded slowly, like it was finally clicking. By the time we finished, we had a simple budget laid out. Nothing fancy, just numbers and rows. I gave him the $600 in cash from my backup account. But I made him write it down. "You owe me," I said. "Not because I'm mad, but because you've got to learn." He looked at me, really looked, and said, "I get it, Dad." He didn't apologize. Not in words. But later that night, I noticed his Instagram was gone. No posts. No profile. Just... Next day, he asked if he could come by on Sundays, just to hang out. I said, "Yeah." Then something shifted between us. Skyler kept coming too, more often now. She'd sit on the couch with me, watching old movies, or help out in the garage, handing me tools while I worked on the truck. One night, before she left, she gave me a hug. Ty whispered, "I'm glad you're my dad." That hit me, like a little crack of light breaking through all this darkness. She was still all over the place. Some days, she tried to be nostalgic, talked about when we met, how we laughed over cheap pizza. Other days, she blamed me, said I'd pushed her away with the new locks and separate accounts. I didn't take the bait. "You pushed first," I'd say. And she'd go quiet back to her room. I wasn't holding my breath for her to change. She loved her version of the story too much, the one where I'm the villain. But I didn't need her to see me anymore. Maddox's Sunday visits became routine. He'd show up with coffee, we'd talk or work on his budget. He never really talked about the trip, but I could tell he was carrying that guilt under all the tough guy stuff. Skyler stayed in the middle, loving us both, but she showed up more for me. Her loyalty was clear in the way she lingered after dinner or curled up next to me on the couch. The cracks were still there. Big ones. Sharp and raw. But these steps, these small, quiet moments with my kids, they felt real. They were enough to keep me going. Enough to start rebuilding. A month after I turned 40, I woke up to a quiet house. Not empty, just calm. The kind of silence that feels settled. It was Saturday. The sun was creeping through the blinds, painting the floor gold. I sat up on the couch where I'd fallen asleep, blanket twisted around my legs. TV off. Coffee from the night before cold on the table. My phone buzzed. I rubbed my eyes, stretched, picked it up. It was an email from my divorce lawyer. Simple, straight to the point. Belle's attorney had reached out. No drama. No fight. Just paperwork. I set the phone down and leaned back, letting it settle in. It wasn't a surprise. Belle and I hadn't really been together since she came back. Separate rooms. Separate accounts. Barely speaking. It was always going to end this way. But I didn't feel sad. Maybe I should have. But I didn't. I felt clear. Like I could finally see myself again. Not just the guy fixing things and paying bills, but me. Julian Hartley. A man who'd walked through fire and made it out. I got up. Made fresh coffee. Stood at the kitchen window, watching the street come to life. Kids riding bikes. A neighbor mowing the lawn. My truck in the driveway, dusty but solid. Like me. I thought about that night, the one with the whiskey, the dark living room, the Instagram post that cracked it all open. It felt far away now. Like it happened to someone else. Later that day, I opened Facebook. My status still said married. It didn't fit anymore. I clicked edit, hovered for a second, then typed. It's complicated. I hit save. It wasn't some dramatic statement. I didn't need the world to know everything. But it was the truth. Life was complicated. Family was messy. Love left marks, some visible, some not. I scrolled through and saw a photo Skyler posted the night before, me and her in the garage. I was holding a wrench. She was laughing. Caption read, "Best dad ever." That got me. A real smile. The kind that warms you up. Maddox had texted earlier too. Said he'd be by tomorrow with coffee, like always. They were still here. My kids, picking up the pieces with me. Belle was upstairs, probably packing the rest of her things. She'd been moving out quietly, bit by bit. No yelling. No theatrics. Just, I didn't stop her. She made her choice long before the lawyers got involved. And I'd made mine. I stepped outside. The morning air was cool on my face. I sat on the porch steps, listening to the neighborhood, birds, dogs, kids. Normal. I felt like I was part of it again. Not invisible. Not stuck. My phone buzzed again. A text from Pete, my buddy from work. "Saw your status. You good, man?" I typed back. "Yeah, better than good." He sent a thumbs up and I set the phone down, looking out at the street. 40 wasn't what I expected. No party. No big moment. But it gave me something better, clarity. I wasn't the guy they forgot anymore. I was the one who stood up, who took back his space. Skyler saw it. She stayed. Maddox was starting to. Even the guys at work noticed. One of them said last week, "You look different, Hartley. Lighter." And I was. The weight of being invisible, of holding everything together in silence, was gone. The divorce wasn't a loss. It was a door closing so I could finally walk through a new one. I stood up, brushed off my jeans, and walked back inside. The house smelled like coffee. Like home. I poured myself a fresh mug, took a slow sip, and smiled. I didn't need balloons or cake. Didn't need Belle's gift bag or Greg's fake support. Being seen by my kids, my friends, and most of all by me was the only gift I needed. 40 wasn't a milestone they gave me. It was one I earned. Skills.
Thanks for listening. Share your opinion in comment section and also do like and subscribe to the channel.